Welcome to Books on Air, the podcast that tells the story behind the book. It includes insights from authors about how they compose their work, what inspires them, and what they hope you'll take away from their book. Here's your host for this episode of Books on Air, Suzanne Harris.
Welcome to the Books on Air podcast. I'm Sloan Fremont, filling in for Suzanne Harris. This is a podcast where listeners get the secret story behind every book. Joining me today is Ben, author of the book, A Voyage of Mystery. This book covers the highs and lows of life, including love, environment, and many other genres, all in poetic form. Ben, I want to welcome you to the Books on Air podcast.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you're here. So let's start out by telling the audience just a little bit about yourself and what led you to write your book, A Voyage of Mystery.
Well, I started writing when I was ill a few years ago. I had something called encephalitis, and it's an inflammation of the brain. Before then, I'd never written a word. And so I started writing. I've done a few words, and sort of thing, but then I decided, no, I don't want to do this. I started writing again at the start of the pandemic. And since then, I've done 5 books. 5?
Wow. That's amazing.
Yes, I'm at 110,000 words at the moment. About 15,000 lines. And this book represents one part of that.
Yeah. And are all your books poetry books as well? Or do you write other styles?
I do write other styles within them. I do prose. And I write some of my poetry into song. But I can't actually put the music to the poem because I'm no good at music. I have the tune in my head.
Right. Then you have to translate it into the music. And yeah, I get that.
Well, that's for someone else to do.
Right.
In one of my books, I've left it at the end. I put them together, and maybe that'll be the next book, most probably. Maybe someone would look at it and maybe think, "Oh, I can do that."
Right. Yeah.
Then,
so
you know.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have a lot of ideas, and if you've written 5 books. So tell us about what inspires your writing.
Oh, I think everything really. During the pandemic, it's just loneliness.
Yeah.
And I wanted to convey to my neighbours we're not alone. So I wrote during the pandemic about 115 poems on it.
Oh, wow.
They're all on different things. It's like when it seemed like there was nothing, the ship was rudderless, and our Chancellor Sunak had nowhere to go, and you know, it's things like that. Yeah. And then I put in some like funny stuff as well. And I just had a neighbour come over to me today to get one of my books. And he said that he was going through the COVID last night, and they were reading it with his wife, and he didn't even like poetry 2 months ago, and now he seems to love it.
Oh, that's amazing. That has to be a great feeling as an author as well.
It was. I gave him the book.
Yeah. So do you want to share one of your poems with us?
Yeah, that's great. This one's called, I'll do My Rusty Nail. It's about, well, you'll find out what it's about.
Okay.
Bench once sturdy, now so old, simple friend of memorable stories told. Garden adornment of memories now faded, but known when sat upon, important talks persuaded. This year my mate did collapse, punished by time, now had enough of that. Nails of frame were nearly all bent brown, but one stood solid, demanded a new crown. Not much to see, but has supported my family for so long. But back to perfection, its importance would continue on. But in what? There was no real choice. A bench part again. This nail would this would the nail voice, the inanimate. It is true. Such cannot sing, but in life, small can be the needed thing. Recycling impossible. There should be no enemy. The nail now is support for new generation of family.
That's amazing. What's your favorite line in that poem?
I don't really sort of have favourite lines. I just that a bench part. This would be have a new voice.
Mm-hmm.
So something that is reused. You know, somehow you're getting a double life out of it, rather than just throwing it away. As we, you know, those things we just throw, like recycling plastics now. 20 years ago, roughly unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that sort of thing I wanted to get over. This might be an old nail, but it's been there for the family. I've sat on that bench. I've talked to the kids about things, you know, important things in life, in the garden. And it's, you know, you see it collapse, you think, well, get some more wood. There's one nail left. Buff it up. There you go. It's something that goes on.
Yeah, and to me, what that speaks of is perspective. Like
it is,
you know, and I think we all got that during 2020 and beyond, just different perspectives of things that we maybe saw every day, or, you know, even activities that we did every day. When everything that we went through, it's like our perspective shifted in such a way that we can't see things the same anymore. And that's what that speaks to me when you're in that poem.
Yeah, this is the sort of sense I wanted to convey by it.
Mm-hmm.
And I use a 4-line stanza model, you know, 4 lines, 16 lines in total. I like to sort of bring together as short as possible, explain as much within them words as possible.
Right.
And, you know, this is the way I think poetry should be. I know other poets are totally different to me. But, you know, it's something that really, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and that you feel it in the cadence, not only in the words, but in the cadence of the poem, right? It you can feel the energy or the meaning of that in the cadence as well. I think, to me, when I hear and read poetry.
Yeah, well, I think this is what it should be about. I write in different styles. Usually that style. There's so many types of things I write about.
Right.
It's, you know, I just try to do it for the people in different formats, like love poetry, the environmental stuff I do. It's for the general population. It's for everyone around. And this is all I wanted to do, is cheer people up a little bit during times of COVID. And not only that, it took me to a new world when I was writing it.
Right, I'm sure. Yeah, and it sounds like your creativity was just, and has been just flowing.
Well, I'm in a wheelchair, so I haven't got the freedom most people have got. I can't drive. Well, a wheelchair I can, but it's at 4 miles an hour. I'm not exactly going fast.
Yeah, and so that changes your perspective, I'm sure, right? And with writing, I mean, there's so much freedom in writing. You can go wherever you want to go when you write.
Well,
and
is it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
As I say, it's like in my latest work, I've come up with a new world, a
Yeah.
world of dreams. And, you know, in this world of dream, it gives a possibility of this is where we go as a second life or third life. It's about the soul. Because I believe that we all have a soul, whether good or bad, it passes on. And, you know, that favours my work considerably, I'd say, nowadays.
Right.
Maybe not so much in the past, but I do love writing about things like that because, again, I'm writing from the heart and I'm writing to the people to say, look, life might be miserable at the moment, but it's better to come.
Yeah, and that authenticity comes through in your writing, right? When you're writing from the heart, and when you're writing from what is meaningful to you, that shows through in your writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I want it to come across.
Yeah.
As I said, I just met a few people. Well, there's another girl now. I'm single, been single for a few years. But I've met a girl now that is really loving my work, and I haven't seen her yet, but we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's exciting.
At least she loves my work, so at least I've expressed myself. And, she's writing a book as well. So maybe she can become a muse for me even. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah, exactly. Is there another poem in your book that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. Actually, this one is another simple one. I call these sort of just middle of the road poems, really. I do complicate it, but this is a nice simple one. It's called A Small Fortune. Opulence. 50p to spend on anything I want. Such luxury. Where is the nearest font? Baffled by choice. With what should I do? A pending question, if only I knew the answer to. Perhaps something sweet, maybe a chocolate bar, a deposit upon a toy car, cigarette, bought, not borrowed from friend, or cup of char, sugared to buck the trend. Possibilities for you. I might keep wealth little, but mine, I could weep. 50p may not be a lot, but it is all that I've got. Needed is nothing. Decision to throw away. Upon path to never might say, money, money, I am rich. This before playing in another mud ditch.
I love how you read that too, with the inflection and the energy behind it. I love that
That's how I tried to write it like that. So I tried to express it the way I needed it to be. I must admit, I've never read aloud any poem yet, so I don't really do that. I send them to people, but no one sort of heard it before.
Yeah, no, I love your reading style with that too. And I think that for the listeners and for those reading your poems, hearing the author of the poem, read it in their voice, I think also makes it very special to hear.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope your listeners have sort of enjoyed.
Yes. So let's go back to the book just a little bit more, and I'd like to just ask you a couple of questions about that, about when you're writing your books, what surprised you the most through that process?
The speed.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
This book took me 12 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And it, there's 20,979 words in it.
That's amazing.
I say, all my books have roughly that, but my second to last one had nearly 27,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done them all since the COVID book. The COVID book took me just over a year. So I've completed 4 more books in literally a year.
That is an insane amount of time to get
I'm writing for my sleep. I'll get up and I can write a poem down in 5 minutes, and then it's just correcting it at a later point or later that day. It's just making them little corrections that I know might be wrong.
Right.
I do actually use a method of dreaming that allows me to remember most of my dreams.
Ooh, what's the method called?
I don't know. I haven't really got a name for it. But